Hey group, so this lesson is about something called diffusion, and it's a process that's a really natural process, kind of a chemistry kind of concept, but it applies very much to our bodies. So let me explain it to you, ready? So if you've ever had a situation like this, where you've taken a drop of food coloring and put it in water, you kind of see what just kind of happens, right? It starts off as this really tight-knit group of purple molecules, right? And then all of a sudden it goes in the water and it spreads out, and spreads out even more, and spreads out even more. Just kind of does it naturally, right? You don't even have to stir it, it just kind of happens. And I want to explain why this happens, because it doesn't just happen in food coloring, it happens when we breathe, it happens when we eat, it happens in our blood, it happens all the time in our body without even thinking about it. And this is a huge idea of how we get water and oxygen and a lot of really important things into our body. Okay? So if you take a look here, this is what's happening. In a nutshell, everything in our world wants to be equal. There's equilibrium. There's always this search for equilibrium. So when this animation starts again, you're going to see it starts, and all of a sudden, things just spread out. It doesn't like that it's really concentrated here and not here. And before you know it, everything wants to be equal. Okay? Picture yourself like you're a molecule, and you're like, it's really crowded over here. I want to be over here. And then ultimately, everyone's like, all right, it's pretty equal. We're all good, right? We're even now. That's what diffusion is things want to be equal. Things want to be even, all right? Now, how this applies to us I start with this question. Why can't you drink salt water? If you're ever stuck at sea, they tell you don't drink salt water because it'll pull all the water from your cells and ultimately make you sick, and then you'll die, right? Because you can't even have salt water. So let's see what's going on here. So this crazy diagram, this represents our salt water. This represents regular old water, okay? And so what happens is, this represents like water inside of our cells. There's a lot of water. Our body's mostly water. So when you drink salt water, I told you it pulls the water out of your cells, and here's why, ready? You can kind of see in a second when the animation starts all over, that it's like, here it's like 50% water, which are these blue circles, and 50% salt, which are these big molecules here, right? So what happens is, things want to be equal. It's 100% water here, and 50% there, so these little blue molecules, the dark one, start working their way over here. And a lot more blue go over here than the light blue go over here, because it wants to even out. And before you know it, it's pulled all these water molecules from here because it's trying to make this even, because this is 50%, this is 100, and ultimately it's trying to make things even. But the salt molecules you'll see here, they can't come through here. The salt can't go into our cells, it just pulls the water out of our cells, because we have a cell membrane, which is called semi-permeable, which means some things can go in and out and some things can't. So your water molecules are small enough that they can go in and out of cells, which is important because our cells need water. But salt molecules can't. So that was tricky, right? So basically, in a nutshell, things want to go where it's even. So if you have lots of salt over here and lots of water over here, well, then the water is going to go over here to try to make it even, because there's less water here. It's always going to travel to where it's less. So so basically, diffusion is traveling from where there's a lot of stuff to where there's a little. So a lot of water to little water. All right. So these are our cells, right? So right now, if we put our cells in an area with like water, where there's lots of water, obviously, because it's water, it's going to swell up because it is more water here than there is here. So again, remember, diffusion is when things go from where there's a high concentration, a lot of stuff, to not that much stuff. So sometimes it'll swell up. If things are even, there's the same amount of water here as there is outside, nothing happens to our cells. They kind of stay pretty darn even. And if all of a sudden we have an area where our cells are filled with lots of water, and we put it in, again, like a saltwater situation where there's not so much water, then stuff will actually leave our cells, and our cells will shrivel up. So that's why, again, if you drink salt water, our cells will shrivel up because the water's going there. This is a very tricky concept. So if my explanation has just utterly confused you, and I hope it didn't, please check out some of the other videos. They're really good. Come talk to me. And if you're a member of my class, of course, we are going to do a little demonstration which will hopefully make this a little bit clearer. So diffusion, high concentration to low, and I'm just going to end with this last little definition. Osmosis is basically diffusion. It's just diffusion, only we're just talking about water in particular. So this is how that happens. Now, we're gonna also get into how diffusion has anything to do with breathing. So I guess I gotta just show you. Ready? I put a lot of oxygen in my lungs, way more than is in my blood. So this is a lot of oxygen in my blood, in my lungs, not so much in my lungs. It's going to travel into your bloodstream. So that's how we pick up oxygen every time we breathe. Every breath we take, we put a lot in our lungs and there's less in the blood. So again, it travels from where there's a lot from the lungs into our blood where there's a little bit. All right. Hopefully you got that. And again, as always, see me with any questions that you have.